What languages do we have again?
Spanish, Portuguese, French, and English.
Spanish, Portuguese, French, and English. Well, oh, okay.
So we are going live now.
30 segundos, algo a nivel mundial.
We're
We're live.
I'm going to keep everybody muted until it's your turn to speak. And Nancy, whenever you're ready, you can go ahead and get started.
Nancy, go ahead.
Okay. So welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today on this third day of sessions for this wonderful program hosted by Universal Peace Federation. We are so excited to gather all of these experts in their fields to really discuss together today about the power of art and culture to harmonize. Of course, we can't underestimate or underappreciate how much art and culture really contribute to society. Without art and culture, I think that each culture would not have that something that makes it special and really creates what we can appreciate amongst each other. So we are really excited for all of you joining us. I think we'll wait just a couple more minutes to allow everyone to gather and to join for this session. We're really excited to talk about the impact of arts, you know, from fine art to music, to all of the different types of expression that there are. And I think that's really one of the special things about art and culture is that it is such a, it can be an expression on an individual level, it can be an expression on a societal level. And we are going to hear from many professionals today in that field. So today, for our first panelist speaker, I would like to invite Minister A. Curtis Farrow. He is a dear friend of mine. Actually, I have the pleasure of introducing somebody that I work closely together with. Just to read a little bit about him for you. He was awarded the Global Marketplace Award, acknowledging his outstanding leadership and global impact in South America, just a little while ago. Recently, he was also locally received many honors for his business experience, including a commendation from former Newark Mayor Cory Booker in 2011 and former Mayor Sharp James in 2005. In 2009, he was named Man of the Year by the Christian Times and received commendation from the Manhattan Borough President and the Public Advocate Award for New York City. He has been a choir director since the age of 9, and he has served as Minister of Music for Mount Olive Missionary Baptist Church in Niles, Michigan, Metropolitan Baptist Church in Jersey City, New Jersey, and for the New Hope Baptist Church in Newark, New Jersey. Mr. Farrow was also named as one of the most influential men in gospel music. He has received 14 Emmy nominations, won 2 Emmy Awards for producing the McDonald's Gospel Fest television specials, and he is also the CEO of Irving Street Rep. Welcome, Minister Farrow. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, Nancy. It's so good to be here. Good morning, everybody. And for those of you around the world who, it may not be morning, it may be evening, I'd say happy evening. It's a pleasure to be here today to talk about culture and arts and how we really do rule the world and we make things change in the world. So I'm excited about being here. I have to say that when I got the call from Dr. Jenkins, who is how I became introduced to Mother and Father Moon, and to all of the wonderful folks who are a part of the movement. It is amazing to me that arts plays such an important part of reaching out to people on all levels. And you know, you always hear that life imitates art, and that is true. But I will say to you that for me, it is also that art will open the door for reality, and art opens the door for us all to come together from the heart. So from a cultural standpoint, I am so proud and so happy to be here today to talk to everyone about my experience. And I will tell you that my experience has been a global experience, from South Africa to, I'm in Mexico right now. Tomorrow I leave for Brazil, and then from there I go back to the United States. And I have to say that for me, culturally, arts play such an important part of God's mission. And I think that sometimes we forget that these talents, these gifts are given to us by God to be able to open doors. And so with that, I am so happy and so proud that my dear, he has become my dear friend, Dr. Jenkins, opened the door for me. And how that all happened was that they were doing a rally and they wanted to do a choir. And I think at that time we were going to do a 1,000 voice choir, I think, or 2,000 voice choir, something like that. And I believe my one of my best friends, the one and only Dr. Christian Times, Dennis Dillon, said to Dr. Jenkins, you know what, I think you should talk to Minister Farrow, and Minister Farrow probably can help you get those numbers and get that choir together. And so then I met Dr. Jenkins, and I sat down with Dr. Jenkins, and then we talked a little bit. And of course, I already knew and had experience of both true and untrue of Father Moon. And it's amazing because working with the movement and working with Mother Moon, and to find out that there's so many misconceptions out there about Mother Moon and about Father Moon, that it is amazing. And it gives me great pride to be a part of especially culturally, to be a part of the music, and to be a part of making music that the world can open their eyes and see that we are all God's children, and we're all working toward that plan and that opportunity of making this world a better place for us all, making it a heavenly place for us all. And I thank Mother Moon for her leadership and in understanding that art is not only a pivotal part of that, but it is primary. And you see it every time we come together. It is all about arts, 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 arts. You see dance, you see singing, you always see arts. And I think that for me to be here today to say that I am so happy and so proud of what it's done in my life. I can tell you that without the arts, and without culture, I can't even imagine what my life would have been like. Everything from planning the homegoing services for Aretha Franklin and for Whitney Houston and for other big names like that, it all comes down to my belief in God and my belief that God gave us each talents and gifts. So I believe that God is the great creator and that he made all of us little creators. And so every single day, if we're not creating, we are not doing the job, and we're not using the talents, the gifts, we're not using the abilities that God has blessed us with. And so for me, coming in and helping with the choir and meeting Dr. J and working with Nancy and working with all of the folks in the movement, the one thing that I will say that Mother Moon, the mother of peace, the one thing that I do think is a brilliant, brilliant opportunity for everyone that's listening, and what I find is so important is that Mother Moon has totally put culture and arts in the front, which I think is so godly. God blessed us each to create every day. So if you're listening to me out there, if you are not using every single day to create, then you're missing a special opportunity for a more blessed life. And I will say, for me, I love it. And everybody who knows me, they know that that is what I love doing. I love creating. And I tell people all the time, you know what? I'm God's little creator, and I want to create and create and create and create until God says, servant, well done, or until God says, okay, you have created enough, A. Curtis Farrow. You have created enough. Now it's time for you to do this or something else. But until then, I am so proud and so happy that I have the opportunity and the ability to stand before you today and to say, from a culture standpoint, it is open season during this time. This pandemic, I know, has shut a lot of people down. I know that it has shut people's hearts down. It has shut people's minds down. It has shut people's souls down. But I have to say to you that my pastor said something the very first time that the pandemic started. And he said to us, be strong and courageous. This is our season. And I have to say to you, the mother of peace, Dr. Hak Ja Moon, has been saying that for years. This is the season, especially for those of us who are creative and those of us who are a part of culture and who are a part of creating culture. This is our season, not to die, not to wither, this is our season to bloom, to explode, to be excited, to have energy, to create. And you know what I find? I find lots of times it's not even about that you've created too much. Sometimes I create some things that don't happen right now, but 2 years later they happen and then they explode. So trust me, folks, anyone out there who's listening to me, or if you know me, I want you to know that I love you. And if you don't know me, I want you to know that I love you. But I would just challenge you today to say this: create, create, create. And remember, God is our big creator. We are little creators, and we should be creating every single day. And here's what I want you to know, that following and listening to the great words of the mother of peace, Dr. Moon, I have to say to you that we can all come to a better world, to a more heavenly place, if we all follow the lead of the mother of peace, which she has said to us many, 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 many times. Many, many, many times I've heard her challenge us to use our gifts, challenge us to use our talents, challenging everyone to come on board and to be a part of this wonderful opportunity, especially from a culture, a creative standpoint, is to create. So I leave you with that, Nancy. Thank you so much for having me. Dr. Jenkins, thank you so much for having me. I want everyone to know that I love you. And just remember, God, the big, great creator, created us all as little creators, and every single day, let's keep on creating. And I'd love to create with you if you want. Just call me and let's do it. Let's keep creating. So Nancy, thank you. And Nancy, you look beautiful today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for making the time to join us. We're so honored to have you.
It's great to be here. I hope that I've lended a little bit of something here this morning.
Yes, no, I think that it set the tone perfectly for really talking about the way that art and culture have such an impact on bringing harmony. And I think one of the things that I loved most was, this notion that we are blessed by God as creators. And,
Yes.
That really, to me, it speaks volumes, because art and culture have the opportunity to have us channel all of the challenges that we are experiencing, right? As you mentioned, this is the season, this challenging season, to turn it into something beautiful that God can communicate through us, and that people can experience God through what we've created. I love that.
Absolutely. We are the tool of God.
Yeah.
Our biggest problem, Nancy, is that we don't allow God to use us as the tool.
Yeah.
That's our biggest problem. And I will say, even Father Moon, I've heard him speak several times. And I will say that, I love because I remember, I can't remember exactly how it was put, but one of the shows he was on, I remember somebody saying to him, oh, so you think you're the savior? You know what I'm saying? And I remember him saying, we're all saviors. God is a big savior. We're all saviors. It's the same kind of thing. God is the great creator. We're all creators. And if we're not using that wonderful, wonderful talent, gifts, that wonderful energy of creating, Nancy, we are not doing what we're supposed to be doing.
Absolutely. Amen. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
For joining us. Yes. And speaking of the energy of great creators, we have our next panelist up, Mr. David Eaton. He is currently an artist in residence in Korea, serving as the co-director of music at the Hyojung Cultural Foundation and conductor of the newly formed Hyojung Youth Orchestra. He has been the music director of the New York City Symphony since 1985 and has conducted numerous concerts with the orchestra at venues such as Carnegie Hall, Lincoln Center for the Performing Arts, the United Nations, the Apollo Theater, and the Metropolitan Museum of Art at the Manhattan Center. So thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Eaton. We're all ears and excited to hear about what you have to share. I'm sorry, I think you're muted still.
Check, check, 1, 2.
Wonderful, we can hear you now. Thank you.
So thank you for the invitation. And, you know, Curtis is a hard act to follow, always. But I'm so grateful to see Curtis and some of our other guests here, Gloria from Paraguay. I've worked with Gloria several times. And in fact, my first international guest conducting experience was in Guatemala in 1987, and I see we have a representative from Guatemala here. So I think that just points to what Curtis was saying, how art and culture is really a global and universal activity that all people are touched by. And so, and thanks to Curtis for his remarks and all the great work he's done for us and other people. I wanted to touch on something that sometimes we don't often talk about, you know, and that is the beauty, in the beauty, truth, and goodness paradigm. You know, we talk about beauty, the aesthetics of art, and the truth aspect of art, the craft, the technique. But sometimes we neglect talking about the goodness aspect, or values or morals, which in philosophical terms is referred to as axiology. So, and I've just finished writing a book in which this is a topic. And as I examined ancient cultures, whether it was the Chinese culture of Confucius or Lu Bouvet, or the Greek cultures of Plato and Aristotle, or the early Hebrew or Christian cultures of St. Augustine and Boethius and Thomas Aquinas, there was a common view that all these cultures had, was that art had a moral component. And it had moral power because it could influence people. So the question became, for all these cultures, how does the artist take responsibility in their artwork to create culture or their art in ways that will contribute to the social benefit of the societies in which they live? And that to me has always been an important point. And it's a big narrative in the book that I'm writing. So we understand now that art has a certain moral component. And so as artists, what is the responsibility we take to use our art in the most positive and beneficial way? And going back, I wanted to cite one Chinese philosopher by the name of Lu Bouvet, who was a contemporary of Confucius. He was a governor, he was a politician, but he wrote a great deal about music. And he said this, he said, the will of people living in an area can be known by examining the customs prevailing there, and their virtues can be known by examining their will, whether a state will become prosperous or whether it will face its downfall, whether its leaders are sensible or unworthy, and whether a person is honorable or dishonorable. All can be known by the music they enjoy, which is a pretty dramatic statement. But that view was shared by the Greeks and the early Christians and Hebrew philosophers and African philosophers. They understood that music could have ennobling aspects, but it also could have corrupting aspects. So this is something as artists, I think we have to take into account. And the famous American conductor and composer Leonard Bernstein once said in an interview, he said, art cannot change events, but it can change people. It can affect people, so they are changed. Because people are changed by art, enriched, ennobled, encouraged, they can act in a way that may affect the course of events by the way they behave, the way they think, and the way they vote. So we understand that art has a certain power, influential power, and this again gets back to the idea of how we use that power. And our founder, Dr. Haksha Hanmoon, in her autobiography, she said, people often think that politics moves the world, but that is not the case. It is art and culture that moves the world. It is affection, not reason, that touches people in their innermost being. When hearts become receptive, ideologies and even political regimes can change. So again, this speaks to the power of art and the power of beauty to affect our consciousness. And in the early 1960s, Reverend and Mrs. Moon founded the Little Angels dance troupe, the performing group. And at the time, not all the members of our church were approving of that because the church was rather poor. It was just years after the Korean War, the country here was still in a shambles, but yet they went forward with this plan to create this art school and this performing troupe because they had a vision that they knew or understood or intuited that art and culture could be the way to bring people to greater understandings of deeper truths. And so the Little Angels became this national phenomenon that began to tour internationally. And even they went to Russia to perform just before Reverend Moon met President Gorbachev. And it was through the beauty of the singing and the performance of the children that the hearts were open so that Father Moon could give his message to the leaders in Russia at that time. So again, to reiterate a bit what Curtis was saying, both Father and Mother Moon have had this idea that art and culture are important roles and as co-creators with God, and that's a very important point that Curtis mentioned, then we have the power to really change people. So it becomes essential for us to understand what morals, what virtues, what values that we can embrace and share that can bring about positive change. And I know Universal Peace Federation talks about universally shared values. Well, what we should do is define those values and then articulate them and then try to practice them in all walks of life, not just art, but in business, in education, in commerce, in politics, in journalism, in science. All areas should have this idea that the people in these areas, whether it's scientists, educators, journalists, are working to develop a culture of peace. And so we need to identify the values and virtues that can help us attain and create that culture. So I'm really grateful for the opportunity to be here to share with everybody. And through this new pillar of the Universal Peace Federation, I think we can do great things. And I'm looking forward to further investment and I don't want to just talk about art. I think we need to do art. We need to create it. We need to perform it. We need to produce it. So I'm looking forward to doing a lot more and working with Curtis and Gloria and our other brothers and sisters here for the ideals that Father and Mother Moon have articulated in the goal of creating a culture of peace. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Eaton. That was wonderful. I find it particularly interesting to see how looking at it from an almost anthropological perspective and that kind of, or sociological, perspective, looking at the way that music in particular has such an impact and such a reflection of society that we can even go back in history to see the reflection of that society in through what was produced. Yes, that was very enlightening. Thank you so much for that. So next up, we have, I would like to take this moment to remind everyone that's joined us that we do have translations available in Spanish, Portuguese, French, and English. It is available at the bottom of your screen. Just click the interpretation button and you will be able to have access to that. Yes, so now I would like to invite up Ms. Gloria de Paraguay. She is singer lyrica Italo-Paraguaya, founder and president of Gloria International Foundation for Sciences, Arts, and Technology. She is also a psychologist from Paraguay. Let's welcome her now. Thank you so much for joining us.
Muchísimas gracias, señorita. Voy a hablar en la lengua española porque es la lengua de mi madre y porque hay muchísimos conectados, miles de Latinoamérica. Quiero decirles que me siento infinitamente feliz y emocionada de poder tenerlos aquí como siempre estuvieron tan cerca de mi corazón. A nosotros nos toca hablar de la influencia de la música y del arte en nuestras vidas. La música es el quinto elemento. Es la voz que se hace oración al Creador. Y si ustedes conocen este libro, dicen, alaben al Señor con cantos, con arpas, con salterios. Es lo que yo hago desde los 5 años y voy a pasar el río de la vida y seguiré alabando al Señor. El Padre Moon dijo en una oportunidad, y estaba el muy querido maestro Eaton presente, tenemos que crear una institución de artistas por la paz. Y le dijo al maestro Eaton, usted debe ser el presidente de esta sociedad de músicos. Tengo un gran afecto y admiración por el maestro Eaton. Yo creo que muchos no saben la capacidad extraordinaria de este, no solo conductor de orquesta. Él tiene inmensas creaciones maravillosas. He tenido la suerte y la felicidad de trabajar con él y de traerlo al Paraguay, creo que en 3 oportunidades. Yo quiero agradecer hoy al señor Tomás Wall por esta oportunidad. Quiero agradecer al señor Félix Coronel, que fue el primero en llamarme. Quiero agradecer a la muy querida y dulce Madre Moon, a la doctora Hayashan Moon, que mantiene vivo los proyectos, desde luego las enseñanzas del muy amado Padre Moon. Quiero decirles que el tiempo que estuve ausente de ellos, crecieron más aún en mi corazón. Porque existen en el mundo inmensidad de sociedades que quieren apoyar el conocimiento de la paz y hacen grandes presentaciones y luego les llega el silencio. Eso, esta vez, no va a ocurrir. La fundación que dirijo tiene a los mejores artistas del mundo. Y para mí, los mejores artistas del mundo son aquellos que tienen una fuerte conexión espiritual con nuestro Hacedor, que aman profundamente a su prójimo, que quieren trabajar, estudiar y perfeccionar el don que Dios nos dio. La ciencia ha descubierto en los trabajos de neuroimagen que el arte y especialmente la música inciden en las neuronas, que el arte puede curarnos, no solo de nuestras dolencias físicas, sino también pueden curarnos de las dolencias morales y también de todo ese yo interior dañado a veces por la vida. Tenemos que recuperar el yo interior que está íntegro, maravilloso dentro de nosotros. Si recuperamos ese yo interior, vamos a recuperar el ruaj de la vida, la esencia de nuestro Creador. Y allí podremos acercarnos a nuestros hermanos y darnos una mano. Tenemos que entender que solos no podemos hacer muchas cosas. De modo que en todo este tiempo en mi caminar he buscado talentos reales que nos puedan acompañar, porque todos saben que hay artistas que tienen mucho nombre y que son el resultado de un trabajo de marketing, pero no tienen nada para dejarnos ni hacernos sentir nada. De modo que vamos a buscar esas personas que nos hagan sentir todo eso, que nos haga llegar a Dios y a la comprensión entre los seres humanos. Nosotros traemos 3 proyectos para la continuación de este lanzamiento de Sopranos World Concert for the Life and Peace. Son sopranos de distintas lenguas, color, cantando por la paz de distintas religiones. Traemos también The Tenor 3 Millennium, voces increíbles que fui encontrando en el mundo, que quiero lanzarlos con nosotros, con esta entidad que hoy se funda para la gloria de Dios. También empezamos bien, porque tenemos la donación de una familia italiana, noble, de un instrumento que ha alcanzado una perfección increíble, para que el virtuoso del violín, Marcelo Jiménez, que está a mi lado, y otro virtuoso del violín, Marcos Núñez, que está en Italia, que está en España, lo hagamos sonar bajo la orquesta y la batuta del maestro David Eaton. Es un violín asombroso, es más pequeño que un 3/4, pero tiene el misterioso y maravilloso sonido de un Stradivarius normal. Con ello vamos a comenzar a dar conciertos y mostrarle al mundo que podemos, que se puede hacer cosas extraordinarias con amor, como siempre la Federación lo hizo. Nosotros como fundación nos asesoramos, buscamos la parte espiritual y psicológica. La señora es Rosa Virgili, una fantástica soprano lírica, también psicóloga. Porque la música, vuelvo a decir, la verdadera música, la que viene de Dios, cura. Y la otra que también conocemos, destruye, absolutamente destruye. Porque atrae todas aquellas negatividades que el hombre tiene normalmente y que tenemos que superar. De modo que vuelvo a agradecerle a todos ustedes. Gracias, Félix Coronel de la UPF, porque me ha llamado, porque yo no acudo nunca si no me llaman. Yo quiero que me llamen, yo quiero que me exijan y por sobre todo quiero seguir cantando orar cantando. Es mi manera. Y quiero decirles que con ustedes vamos a hacer verdaderas maravillas dentro del arte. Les dejo mi corazón y les digo hasta siempre. Muchas gracias.
Thank you so much. Thank you. That was wonderful. I think for me, the thing that was most interesting was this connection that you mentioned about opera music being shown to stimulate the brain and to be able to help heal people. We already know that their art is used as a type of therapy for patients who have experienced extreme trauma. And it's used by many clinical psychologists and social workers. So it's fascinating to hear also the studied effects of music in its ability to heal us as people. So thank you so much. Yes, that was wonderful. And next, I would like to welcome to you all the Honorable John Andrew King. John Andrew King is a Barbadian entertainer, politician, and current cabinet minister. In primary school, John's constant singing was channeled into performances at school concerts. In June 1982, Johnny Mawboy was introduced to the Calypso arena after making a name as a street dancer in his teens. King, a first-timer to elective politics, successfully won a seat in Parliament in 2018 and was appointed Minister of the Creative Economy, Culture, and Sports. In 2012, he was awarded the Barbados Service Medal in recognition of his contribution to Calypso and entertainment. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you very much. And a very special thank you to the Universal Peace Federation for allowing me to speak to you. History has always marked the progress of mankind's greatest civilizations by studying their culture. And an integral part of that culture has always been the arts. Now, if we take a look, and a very close one across all of the continents, we will find outstanding examples in engineering, architecture, innovation, music, literature, and spirituality, just to name a few. If we define culture, though, as the customs, arts, social institutions, and achievements of a particular nation, people, or other social group, this gives us a wide range of activities from which we can draw references to enhance our understanding of the power of art and culture as an agent of peace. It is in the exchange of ideas, technologies, and practices that have led to the quality of life we enjoy as global citizens, even though we take it for granted. In man's earliest recorded travels into unknown territories, he always studied and commented on the uniqueness of the culture. It is also through an understanding and appreciation for that culture that he was able to forge relationships with previously unknown people. The very idea and practice of survival as a species is based on a culture of innovation, giving us the ability to overcome the challenges of food, shelter, and believe it or not, boredom. Imagine, if you can, a world without conversation, laughter, or music, where all we did is work, eat, and sleep. Not a very exciting prospect at all. Today, as it was in ancient times, we continue to use the arts to bridge barriers of language and ideology. I believe all of us have experienced the emotional effect of music, from the cooling, soothing sounds of an orchestra to love songs, sad songs, or happy songs that make us dance. With or without lyrics, we feel and react to the universal language in the dance of life. The arts have been a unifying force from the time language was developed and we could verbally communicate what we were thinking. The artists of the world have not only been entertainers, but they have been the conscience, they've been advocates and protectors of peace and harmony through their work for centuries. With the advent of the internet and our capacity to access information at the touch of a button, we are bombarded with news. Some good, lots of it bad, and some even fake. But equally, there are films, documentaries, lectures, plays, music, etc. that feed and nourish our spirits. Where there has been conflict, the arts have played a major role in bringing comfort to combatants, civilians, and survivors alike. Starting today, let us seek to promote through the arts those values that bring us closer together as a human family. Let us honor, respect, and celebrate our differences in song, dance, theater, literature, and film. Food, yes, food in every culture brings people together. If we cannot share a meal, we can surely share a recipe. Recite a poem, sing or whistle a tune, record it and send it to someone as a voice note and let them know that you love them. Draw or paint a picture yourself or encourage others to pick it up as a hobby. There is a better version of you waiting to see and experience the better version of others. And being involved in creative activities harmonizes all with all things within our environment, physically and spiritually. Therefore, we should always remember these words from a song that I learned as a child. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. This is my challenge to everyone here today. Be the change you so desperately want to see. Encourage your leaders, your artists, your influencers, your friends and families to practice love and not fear, tolerance and not intolerance, unity and not division. We must talk the talk, but we must also walk the walk as examples of the best humanity has to offer. With sincere love and respect, I thank you.
Thank you so much, Honorable John King. It was wonderful. I loved all of those points. You touched on so many different things. Really, that culture, the understanding of each other's culture can really bring us together, that it starts with learning about one another, right? And many of those, that opportunity to learn can come through the arts, through music, through paintings, through the video, all of the different expressions that we have. And working on that really, it really promotes this understanding. And I love also this point that you brought up, that it's a challenge to boredom even. It gives us something productive to do, to create, to contribute. I love that idea of really contributing to the richness of our societies, of our even our countries. Yes, so thank you so much for that contribution. And last but not least, I would like to welcome up Mr. Cesar Villalobos, performer of traditional Peruvian music, Spanish to English musician, actor, composer, chiropractor, and spiritual healer. Thank you so much for joining us. We're very happy to hear from you.
Muchas gracias. Muchas gracias. Muy buenos días a todos ustedes, o buenas tardes o buenas noches en otros lugares del mundo. Para mí es un gran honor estar con ustedes en este día tan hermoso, gracias al Divino Creador que nos dio un día más, una oportunidad más para poder hacer cosas buenas y ayudar al prójimo. Muchas gracias por la invitación. Entonces, ¿me escuchan? ¿Aló? ¿Aló?
Yeah, you're a little bit quiet.
¿Usted me están escuchando? Can you listen me?
Yes,
Perfectamente.
that's better.
Ok, muy bien, muy bien. Ok, perfecto, perfecto. Bueno, disculpe, estoy un poco cansado. Estuve grabando ayer en el Nevado, en la sierra, en el Perú, a 5,200 metros de altura. Y bueno, recién acabo de llegar, pero estoy contento que llegué a tiempo para tratar de aportar parte acerca de mi trabajo que hago, que es el arte, la cultura. Felicito a todos los ponentes que han hablado muchas maravillas y valoro todo lo que ellos hacen y los felicito a ellos. También quiero mandar un saludo al señor, al doctor Trevor, que gracias a él, pues, soy parte de la UPF, y también a todos ustedes, a todos los directivos. Y realmente para mí es un honor ser parte de ustedes. En mi campo, como artista, me siento bendecido, ya que el Creador me dio ese don de la música, de la composición más que todo. Y eso es lo que hago. Ya he viajado como 50 países, tratando de difundir este lenguaje universal que es de la música, porque la música, pues, personalmente pienso que ayudará a salvar el mundo. Tengo muchos pacientes en diferentes países donde voy, y a ellos siempre les digo, aparte de mi tratamiento, les hago la música terapia, y eso ayuda mucho, especialmente en estos tiempos difíciles que pasamos, porque ayuda a levantarles el ánimo y darle más energía, y que con fe, con esperanza, con optimismo, todos estos tiempos difíciles pasarán, y mejores días vendrán. La música, pues, viene, pues, de siglos y siglos desde la creación, ¿no? Inclusive escuché una vez que Jesús en el Monte de los Olivos pidió, antes de que fuera crucificado, pidió a sus apóstoles que tocaran música. La música siempre nos ayudará tanto físicamente, espiritualmente, mentalmente, emocionalmente, ¿no? Y me siento, como digo, contento de esto. Todo tipo de arte, porque el arte nos mantendrá a nosotros unidos. Lo opuesto que a veces que la política, que a veces trata de separarnos, ¿no? Entonces, es una bendición poder ser artista y poder prácticamente compartir y lo que recibo, pues devuelvo al prójimo en mis obras sociales, porque eso no es mío. Yo siempre digo, tenemos una vida para hacer el bien y no hay que desperdiciarla, ¿no? Y prácticamente devolvemos todo lo que el Creador nos ha dado, ¿no? Porque venimos sin nada, no vamos sin nada, pero podemos, devolvemos lo que Dios, pues especialmente mi persona, me ha dado. Y sigo trabajando en esto desde mi campo. eh, Toco la música, pues, andina, porque soy peruano de la zona andina, pero también he estado en diferentes culturas y compartiendo con los hermanos, los mayas, los aztecas, los nativos de Norteamérica. También he estado por Rusia, he estado por muchos países en Europa, compartiendo la música y llevando esto a diferentes hospitales también. Eh, y claro, cuando la gente está un poco triste o tiene una mala noticia o algo, pero a veces la música te despierta, esa cosa interior que tenemos, ¿no? Y nos ayuda. Utilizando el chakra de la voz, ¿no? Que es la voz, o sea, la música con hermano el viento, como decimos, con nuestro guaira, que viaja por el mundo llevando canciones de paz, de armonía, de esperanza, de amor, ¿no? Entonces, todos nosotros, todos los seres humanos tenemos un talento, que todos tenemos un arte. Solo a veces no sabemos lo que tenemos hasta cuando lo necesitamos, pero cuando meditemos, tratemos de escuchar el sonido primero de la naturaleza, el sonido de los pájaros, de los árboles, de los ríos. Todo eso es una parte de la sanación. Todo eso nos ayuda a sanar. Y Y eso es lo que hago. Así me enseñaron mis abuelos. Yo vengo de una familia de sanadores, todo en nombre de Dios, porque nosotros no sanamos, nosotros solamente somos un instrumento, porque es la energía divina que sana, ¿no? Entonces siempre digo, respirando profundamente, uniendo la tierra con el cielo, ¿no? Como la ida y vuelta, como la vida y la muerte. A veces nos olvidamos de que nosotros podemos curarnos a nosotros mismos, ¿no? Llenando nuestra mente solamente de cosas positivas, sin dejar ningún espacio, ni para el odio, ni el rencor, ¿no? Eso nos ayudará. Inclusive en la quiropraxia, la tercera vértebra que tenemos acá, que está conectado al oído, ¿no? Esta vértebra, la cervical, tiene que estar derechita para poder que funcione bien toda nuestra parte del cerebro, la vista, los ojos, porque cada vértebra de nuestro cuerpo está conectado. El sistema nervioso conecta a todas las partes del cuerpo. Entonces, me siento muy, muy contento de este trabajo que hago de divulgación de la música andina peruana por el mundo, pero también haciendo ahora, creando canciones instrumentales y creando canciones también a nuestro amado creador, porque como una de mis canciones que he compuesto, que digo, a veces me encontré en un abismo, confundido a veces por la fama y eso, ¿no? Y a veces nos olvidamos, ¿no? De dónde viene todo eso. Entonces, por eso digo, Señor del cielo, regreso a buscarte. Perdón te pido, quizá alguna vez estuve ausente, pero yo sé que en mi corazón siempre estuviste presente. Yo regreso a ti para compartir lo que tú me has dado. Entonces, ahora hago canciones con oraciones como de paz en estos tiempos, ¿no? Y todos nosotros debemos de tomarnos un tiempito en nuestras actividades, ¿no? Respirar profundo, cerrar nuestros ojitos y mirar hacia arriba el Creador y tratar de escuchar nuestra voz interior, porque ahí está la respuesta a todas nuestras preguntas. A veces estamos distraídos por la forma que vive el hombre moderno, pero debemos de ir más, acercarnos a la naturaleza, ¿no? El escuchar, como digo, los cantos de los pájaros, escuchar el sonido del aire con los vientos y las cascadas y los grillos y los animalitos que mi abuelo me enseñó que cada insecto, por más pequeñito que esté en este planeta, lo necesitamos. Tenemos que cuidarlos. Son nuestros hermanitos. Y
Thank you so much, Mr.
bueno,
Villalobos. Yes,
¿ves?
thank you.
Corazón.
Yes, thank you so much for that beautiful expression. I think that was so it's so touching to really think about also how music and the arts can connect us to the divine, connect us to our creator, and to each other, and also connect us to the world, to nature as well. So thank you so much for your wonderful words. We appreciate that you were able to join us, and from during your busy schedule, to all of our panelists for making time for us today. Universal Peace Federation is very grateful, and we are. Thank you so much to everyone who could join us for this session of the International Association of Arts and Culture for Peace. I think that all of our panelists have really done such a fantastic job of expressing that the importance and the power of art and culture, and that it's not only the professionals who are able to do it. Each one of them has invited us, all of us, to really tap into our creative nature and allow that to connect us to our creator and to channel the divine and to allow that expression of goodness to help us to get through the difficulties in our life, to channel the pain that we might experience, or the loneliness, or the hurt, anger. All of these things that we experience can be channeled into positivity and to create beauty, actually. And through that, we can harmonize with each other, and we can bring about true and lasting peace. So thank you so much for joining us here today. Unfortunately, we don't have time for questions and answers, although we had some wonderful questions from our audience that we would have liked to have shared. But I guess you will have to join us again for the next IAACP session to hear some of those wonderful testimonials and questions that we have. So thank you so much for joining us. I hope that you will all, I will see you all soon in the closing session. So thank you once again. Let's give a wonderful round of applause for all of our speakers today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Muchas gracias. Muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you,
Muchas
David.
gracias a todos.
Thank you.
Beautiful. That's great.
Gracias. Que Dios lo bendiga.
Muchas gracias, Gloria. Mucho gusto verte.
Dios bendiga. We love you.
Bendiga,
Thank you
Cesar.
all very much.
Yes, and thank you also to our wonderful hardworking translators. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Nancy. You did a great job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Gracias.
To all
Thank you.
presenters.
Muchas gracias.